My name is Claire Donovan. I'm 34 years old. My husband and I built up $115,000 over nearly 5 years. We were 9 days away from signing the final papers on our first home. Then my parents called. They said it was urgent. I transferred $28,000 before the sun went down. 2 weeks later, my sister uploaded a photo on social media. Quartz countertops, brushed brass hardware, a fully redesigned kitchen that looked straight out of a renovation magazine, and a caption that made my stomach sink. Thank you, Mom and Dad. That photo was not the hardest part. When I confronted my parents, they gave me 3 words back. 3 words that ended 34 years of being their daughter. And what unfolded at the Labor Day cookout 3 months later. That's the moment none of them saw coming. Welcome back to Still Water Stories, where we share real accounts of the family members who were supposed to stand by you, and the moment you realize they never actually did. If you're new here, hit subscribe and stay with me, because you're going to want to hear every word of this one. Now let's get into it. I grew up in a mid-sized town just outside of Columbus, Ohio. My dad, Dennis, worked as a licensed electrician. My mom, Carol, stayed home and managed our household like a military operation. Every routine had a structure. Chores, curfews, who sat where at the dinner table. I funded my own way through college. Grants covered my tuition. I took care of everything else. Waitressing 4 nights a week, tutoring on weekends, running on 5 hours of sleep for 4 straight years. Nobody in my family stepped in. Nobody offered anything. I walked across that stage with a civil engineering degree, and not a single dollar of student debt. And I did every bit of it on my own. I met Marcus when I was 27. A calm, steady guy. Operations project manager. The kind of man who arrives before he's needed and never once raises his voice. We got married when I was 29. A small ceremony at the local courthouse, followed by dinner at a Greek restaurant with 14 of our closest people. We paid for the entire evening ourselves, just under $4,500. The night we came back from our honeymoon, for days at a cabin up near Lake Erie, we sat at the kitchen table and opened a joint savings account together. One clear goal. A house. $2,200 a month every single month. No exceptions, no weekend getaways, no new vehicles, no dinners out unless someone else was picking up the tab. 5 years of saying no to everything we wanted so we could finally have the one thing we needed. By January, we had $115,000. I used to picture the moment of holding the keys, feeling that weight settle into my palm. 2 keys on a simple metal ring. I imagined it most nights before I drifted off to sleep. What I never imagined was what my family would do to pull it all out from under me. $115,000. Nearly 5 years. And it almost vanished in the span of one phone call. Let me tell you about my sister. Tara is 3 years younger than me, 31. She's married to Brandon, a plumbing contractor who brings in around $72,000 a year. Solid income. Nothing to stress over. They have 2 children, ages 4 and 2. Tara doesn't work outside the home. That's her decision, and I respect it. But in my mother's eyes, Tara's path made her the one who was always in need. My parents covered Tara's wedding in full. Just over $20,000. A DJ matching bridesmaid gowns, a catered open bar, the whole production. When Marcus and I got married at the courthouse, my mom said, "Well, that's sweet. Simple is sometimes better." When Tara and Brandon bought their house, my parents contributed toward the down payment. When Marcus and I began saving for ours, not a single person asked how we were doing. Not one offer of help. My mom's explanation was always consistent. Tara has little ones at home. She needs support. You've always handled things yourself. I never pushed back. I told myself it was a form of respect. That being self-reliant meant being seen as capable. That being passed over meant being trusted. I held on to that for a long time. Too long. I wasn't the difficult daughter. I wasn't the emotional one. I was the one who never showed up in crisis, never overdrew an account, never needed rescuing. And because I never asked for anything, my parents concluded I didn't deserve anything either. I should have seen it for what it actually was. Not a compliment. A pattern. A system. And inside that system I had one designated role. The one who gives. The one who doesn't push back. The one who sends the funds without asking questions. But patterns don't fracture until they fracture you first. February 9th. Thursday night. 9:52. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Dad's name lit up the screen. He almost never called that late. I answered on the second ring. His voice was unsteady. "Claire, sweetheart, we need you." I straightened up. "What's going on?" "The heating system just failed. It went out in the middle of the night. Pipes froze before we caught it. The utility room is completely flooded. There's mold spreading on the east wall already." I could hear my mother somewhere behind him, crying or something very close to it. "We reached out to a contractor first thing this morning," Dad said. "He walked the whole property and came back with an estimate. Furnace replacement, plumbing repairs, mold remediation, drywall restoration, the whole scope." "How much?" $28,000. I closed my eyes and ran the numbers. I work in civil engineering. Estimating project costs is literally my job. A heating system replacement comes in between $7,000 and $11,000. Water and pipe damage adds another $9,000 to $14,000. Mold work, depending on the spread, adds $5,000 to $8,000. The number made sense. "Checked out. Your mom and I just don't have it," Dad said. "We cleared out our emergency fund last year when Tara had some medical expenses. Something else I hadn't been informed about. Another financial crisis that had apparently only concerned my parents and my sister. We didn't know who else we could ask, honey. Your mom hasn't slept. She's been in tears since this morning." I looked across the room at Marcus. He was already watching me. He already knew what I was going to say. "How quickly does this need to happen?" I asked. "The contractor said if we don't begin repairs within the next few days, the mold reaches the ventilation system. Then we're looking at $55,000. I didn't pause. I didn't request documentation. I didn't ask for the contractor's name or license number. "I'll get it to you first thing tomorrow morning," I said. I gave my answer before I set the phone down. Marcus sat at the edge of the mattress, elbows on his knees, eyes fixed on the floor. "That's our down payment, Claire." "I know. $28,000. That's almost a quarter of everything we've set aside." "I know, Marcus." He wasn't angry. That's not who Marcus is. When something is serious, he goes quiet. The quieter he gets, the harder he's thinking. And at that moment, he had nothing left to say. "They're my parents," I said. "If their pipes are bursting and there's mold creeping through the walls, I'm not going to just sit here and do nothing. I'm not saying don't help them. I'm saying $28,000 is not a small request. That's years of weekends we stayed home, trips we didn't take, meals we cooked instead of going out." He was right. We both knew it. We talked through everything for over an hour. We made a plan. We'd send the $28,000. My parents would repay it over the following 10 months at $2,800 a month. No interest, no formal paperwork because they were family. Marcus didn't love the arrangement, but he understood it. If it were my parents, he said, I'd probably do the same thing. That night, I called our real estate agent and told her we'd need to postpone the closing. She hesitated before she spoke. "Claire, the sellers are entertaining another offer. If you push back the timeline, there's a real chance they accept it." "How much time are we working with?" "A few days at most, maybe a week." I told her we'd find a way. I hung up and stared at the ceiling for a long time after that. The 3-bedroom with the porch and the side yard and the quiet street that ended at a walking trail. That house was slipping away. And I was letting it go because my parents had called me in the middle of the night and asked me to. Family returns what it borrows. That's what I told myself. Family did return something. Just not what I was expecting. Friday morning. 7:20. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open, the banking portal loaded on screen. Marcus had already left for the office. The apartment was still. I entered the amount. $28,000. Routing number. Account holders. Dennis and Carol Saunders. I verified everything twice, then clicked confirm. The receipt appeared 11 seconds later. Wire transfer of $28,000 to Dennis and Carol Saunders. Processed. I stared at that screen. Our savings balance had dropped from $115,000 to $87,000. 5 years of discipline gone in 12 seconds. I took a screenshot of the confirmation and sent it to my dad. "Done. Just let me know when the work starts." He replied within 90 seconds. "God bless you, sweetheart. We'll pay back every dollar. Promise. That afternoon Mom called. She was crying again or performing it. I genuinely couldn't distinguish the two anymore. You came through for us, Claire. I don't know what we would have done. You've always been the steady one. Always. The steady one. That was how she framed it. Not generous. Not selfless. Steady, as if the sacrifice cost me nothing. As if the money materialized simply because I had the composure to produce it. But I didn't say any of that. I said, "You're welcome, Mom. Just focus on getting everything repaired." For one afternoon, I felt like I actually mattered to them. Like the phone call, the transfer, the sacrifice had finally given me a seat at a table I'd been kept away from for years. I thought maybe this was the moment they would finally really see me. That feeling lasted exactly 14 days. The first week I didn't read too much into the silence. They were busy. Contractors coming in and out. Insurance probably involved. I sent a quick text on Wednesday. "How's the repair work coming, Dad?" Delivered. No response. 2 days passed. "Mom, is the flooding sorted out?" 6 hours later. "We're managing it, honey." No photos. No contractor receipts. No update on the mold situation, the plumbing, the heating. Nothing. Marcus caught it before I allowed myself to. He's the one who said it out loud. They haven't sent a single photo. I was slicing vegetables for dinner. I stopped. "What do you mean?" "Your dad described a utility room underwater. Mold on the wall, contractors ripping out drywall. And your mom hasn't photographed one bit of it. No before and after. No progress shots. Nothing." I put the knife down. "She documents everything, Marcus. Your mom took 12 photos of a new welcome mat last spring. She has an entire album dedicated to casseroles. A $28,000 emergency renovation. And there's been complete radio silence?" He had a point. I didn't want him to have a point. I said I was sure everything was fine. He said he wasn't accusing anyone. He said something just didn't add up. I picked the knife back up and changed the subject. But the crack was there now. A small fracture in the wall of trust one had built around my parents. Just enough to let something through. The following Sunday I was on the couch. Sweatpants, cold coffee on the end table, mindlessly scrolling. I wasn't looking for anything specific. Just moving through the feed the way you do when your brain needs something low stakes to do. And then I saw it. But first the house. Our agent called that Monday. 2 days before social media would change everything. Her voice had that careful practice quality. The tone people use when they've rehearsed what they're about to say. "Claire, the seller's signed with someone else." "I'm sorry." "Gone." The 3-bedroom with the porch and the side yard and the street that curved into a green walking trail. Someone else's keys were being cut. Someone else's address on their mail. I was standing in the parking lot outside my office. Lunch break. Cars coming and going. I looked at my phone. $87,000 in savings. $28,000 of it sent to my parents. And the house, the entire point of 5 years of sacrifice, now belonged to a stranger. I didn't cry. I'm not built that way. I sat in my car, gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white, and then I drove back inside and finished my shift. Marcus didn't say much that evening. He opened the savings app twice during dinner, just looked at the balance and closed it again. We didn't argue. That's how you know something has actually gone wrong. When there's nothing left worth fighting over because the damage is already sitting there between you. "We'll get back there," I said. "I know. For months, maybe 5, with everything aligned." "I know, Claire." I stopped letting myself picture the keys after that. The image hurt too much. Every time I tried, all I could see was the wire transfer confirmation. $28,000 sent to the people I trusted most. The money would come back. They'd return it. I just needed to wait. I was still telling myself that when I opened social media that Sunday, same couch, same sweatpants, same cold coffee, same routine. Tara's post was a carousel of 6 images. I almost scrolled right past it. Almost. The first photo stopped me completely. A kitchen renovation. But not a modest one. Bright ceiling height cabinetry in an off-white finish. A large waterfall island topped with veined quartz. Brushed brass everywhere. Faucet. Pools. Pendant fixtures above the island. A farmhouse-style apron sink so pristine it still had tape residue on the basin edge. Second photo. Tara in the center of the space, arms spread wide. face lit up like she just won something. Her 2 kids sat on the island edge, legs hanging wearing matching loungewear. Third photo. A tight shot of the countertop. Morning light caught the quartz veining. A glass vase of white ranunculus sat beside a brass soap dispenser. The caption read, "New kitchen, new chapter. Quartz countertops and brass details I've been dreaming about for years. Couldn't have done it without Mom and Dad. Thank you for making it happen. Couldn't have done it without Mom and Dad." I read it 4 times. Then a 5th. Mom and Dad. The ones with the flooded utility room. The ones who told me they had no savings left. The ones whose voices were shaking at 10 o'clock on a Thursday night. My hands started trembling. Not from anger. From something underneath anger. That particular kind of shaking that happens when your body processes a truth before your conscious mind will accept it. When every assumption you've quietly carried about the people closest to you splits clean down the middle. I set my phone on the cushion. Picked it up again. Set it down. Then I did the only thing I could do. I took a screenshot. I zoomed into every corner of every frame. Quartz countertops running approximately 55 linear feet. Brass hardware on 38 cabinet faces. 3 custom pendant lights over the island. An apron front farmhouse sink. A handmade tile backsplash. Fresh wide plank flooring throughout. I do cost estimates professionally. This kitchen renovation was a minimum of $32,000. Possibly closer to $38,000. And my sister had captioned it. "Thanks Mom and Dad." Marcus. He came in from the other room. I held the phone out without a word. He looked at the screen. Swiped through. Read the caption. Then he stood completely still. I counted to 12 before he said anything. "Call your mother," he said. "Not yet." I opened the banking app. The transfer receipt was still there. $28,000. Processed. February 10th. I held both images in my head. The confirmation on one side. The quartz countertops on the other. The numbers told a story, and it had nothing to do with a broken heating system. I didn't call. I didn't text anything emotional. I went into my messages and pulled up the screenshot of the kitchen, a screenshot of the caption, and a screenshot of the wire confirmation, and I sent all 3 into the family group thread. No text above them. No context. No punctuation. Just the images side by side. I let them do the talking. Read 10:17 in the morning. No response at 11. Nothing at noon. Nothing at 1. 3 hours of quiet from 2 people who always had an answer ready. 3 hours of my parents sitting with the evidence on their phones, trying to find an angle and explanation. Some way to frame a lie when the truth was sitting right beside it in full resolution. At 1:24, Mom's name appeared on my screen. "Andrea." I answered. "Before you start," I said. "Where did the $28,000 go, Mom?" "It went to the home. We replaced the furnace. Fixed the pipes. And then there was money remaining. Remaining from a $28,000 emergency? Enough left over to fund a $35,000 kitchen renovation?" Silence. 5 full seconds. I heard her breathing shift. She adjusted. Her voice softened and climbed. The version she uses when she's in the middle of performing something. "Tara needed a real kitchen, Claire. The one she had was falling apart. The cooktop barely functioned. Half her appliances didn't work. The children were practically living on convenience food. So you told me a story about a flooded basement. We told you there was an emergency because there was one. Tara's family was living in conditions no one should have to tolerate. You had Dad call me and tell me the heating collapsed, the pipes burst, the utility room flooded. None of that happened. We knew you wouldn't give us the money if we told you what it was actually for. And there it was. Flat. Almost casual. Stated the way you'd explain a shortcut through a parking lot. We knew you wouldn't send it if we told you the truth." "You're right," I said. "I wouldn't have. And that's the issue, Claire. You wouldn't have helped your own sister. What kind of sister does that make you? What kind of parents fabricate an emergency to take their daughter's savings? We didn't take anything. You offered that money. I offered it for a flooded utility room. Not for a quartz countertop and brass pendant lights." Silence again. Longer. Her voice came back harder, the warmth stripped out of it. "Claire. I'm listening. You need to hear me clearly. Go ahead." And then she said 3 words. And everything shifted. She deserved it. 3 words. No flinching. No apology layered beneath them. No, but you have to understand. Just a verdict. Delivered. Flat. Like it had been decided long before she spoke it out loud. She deserved it. I held the phone to my ear and didn't respond for 10 full seconds. The clock above the stove ticked. The refrigerator hummed. A car outside turned into the parking lot. 3 words I said quietly. That's all it took to end 34 years of being your daughter. Don't be dramatic, Claire. Tara has 2 children. She has a mortgage. She needed. I hung up. I placed the phone face down on the kitchen counter. And I stood there. I don't know for how long. 5 minutes, maybe closer to 10. Just standing. Laminate countertops. An 8-year-old refrigerator. A faucet that drips if you don't push the handle all the way to the left. No quartz. No brass. Nothing that caught the light. Marcus found me standing at the sink window. What did she say? I told him. He took in 3 slow words, then set his keys on the counter. Then we're done accepting it. We're recovering that money. I shook my head. There's no money to recover, Marcus. It's already quartz. It's already brass fixtures and farmhouse sinks and custom backsplash tile. Then they should understand what it costs them. They don't care what it cost us. Not us. Them. The calls didn't stop after that. They were just getting started. 3 days later, Dad called. His voice had a careful quality to it, the kind you notice when someone is reading from a script someone else prepared. Your mother is very hurt by all of this, Claire. She didn't intend it the way it sounded. Which part? The fabricated emergency or the she deserved it? She's your mother. She was trying to do right by both of you in her own way. She did right by one of us with the other one's savings. He had nothing for that. He stammered something about giving it time, about having a conversation, about working through it as a family. I let him finish. None of it reached me. That afternoon, Tara sent a text. Mom mentioned you're upset about the kitchen situation. Honestly, Claire, it wasn't that serious. You and Marcus earn well. We don't. I looked at her message for a long time without responding. Brandon brings in $72,000 a year. Their truck is paid off. Their mortgage rate is under 4%. They aren't struggling. They just decided they wanted quartz. I didn't write back. That evening, Mom called again. No tearful quality this time. She came in sharp and clipped. You need to move past this, Claire. Real family doesn't keep score. Real family also doesn't lie about flooding basements. I'm not going to apologize for looking after your sister. If that's what you're sitting around waiting for, you'll be waiting indefinitely. I hung up. Phone face down. Same counter. Same spot. Marcus looked across the room. You okay? I'm not surprised by any of it. That's what's so hard. I'm not even surprised. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay awake past 2 in the morning, not angry. Something beyond anger had settled in. Clarity. The fog I'd been moving through for 34 years had finally lifted. And what sat underneath it wasn't what I'd wanted to find. I had always known. Not the specifics, but the shape of it. The way the house moved around me. I just hadn't let myself look directly at it. Wednesday morning. 7:23. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A forwarded message from my dad. I knew the moment I looked at it that he hadn't meant to send it to me. The note above the forward said, "Did you let Claire know about the thread? Your mom is going to be furious." He'd sent it to the wrong daughter. My name, Tara's name. Both starting with the same letter, 2 contacts sitting right next to each other in his phone. 1 slip of a thumb. Below the forward was a group chat thread. 3 participants. Mom. Dad. Tara. The first message was dated 7 weeks before Dad called me about the heating system. I sat up slowly. Marcus was in the shower. I read every word. Mom to the group. Tara has been looking at the countertop she wants. Veined quartz. We need at least $28,000 to cover the renovation properly. Dad's reply, we don't have that right now, Carol. Mom, Claire does. Dad. She's saving for a house, Carol. Mom. Claire won't even feel it. Claire won't even feel it. My own mother. Typing that into her phone. Pressing send without hesitation. Tara to the group. Just tell her the furnace went out. She'll send it. She always comes through. She always comes through. For words that define my entire role in that family. Mom. I'll have your father make the call. She trusts his voice more. Planned. Every detail. The shaking voice. The sounds of distress in the background. The heating system. The frozen pipes. The spreading mold. My father's late-night phone call was not a moment of panic. It was a rehearsed performance. And my mother had written every line. I saved every message, took screenshots of the full thread, and locked my phone. Marcus came out of the bathroom with a towel over his shoulders. You look like something just hit you. Something did. Sit down. I showed him the entire thread. He read through it twice. Then he put the phone on the bedspread, pressed both palms over his face, and held them there. A long time passed before he said anything. They planned this out. 6 weeks before your dad called. Your mother wrote the script. Dad figured out his mistake around 11 that morning. 6 missed calls appeared in a row. Then a text. Claire, please call me. That wasn't for you. Let me explain. I sent one line back. There's nothing to explain, Dad. I read all of it. Mom called that afternoon. She came in swinging. Your father made an error sending that thread. You're reading it without proper context. What context turns Claire won't even feel it into something acceptable? I meant you wouldn't miss it because you earn well. You make real money, Claire. Tara's husband is a tradesperson. Brandon earns $72,000 a year. That's not poverty. You don't know what it's like raising 2 kids on that. You're right. I don't. Because instead of buying a house and starting a family, I wired my savings to my parents to cover a heating emergency that was invented. Silence settled in. You've always resented what Tara has. Even as children. I never resented Tara, Mom. I resented the version of my parents I thought I had. She hung up. I sat on the edge of the bed for a while. The group thread was still open on my screen. Claire won't even feel it. I read it one final time. Then I put the phone down. That evening Marcus read through the thread again, said nothing for a while, then looked up. The Labor Day cookout is at your Aunt Ruth Ann's this year. Isn't it? Yes. We're going. Saturday, Tara called. I let it ring twice before I answered. Mom says you're being dramatic over this whole thing. It's a kitchen, Claire. It's $28,000, Tara. It's my $28,000. Our parents help me because I have a real need. 2 kids. A mortgage. Brandon's payment on the work van just went up. You have no concept of that kind of pressure. I have a savings account that's $28,000 lighter because you wanted veined quartz. She actually laughed. A brief, sharp sound that told me exactly how she saw me. A resource. An account to draw from when the budget got inconvenient. You don't even have kids. Why do you need a whole house right now? That landed like a physical thing. Clean and direct. I need a house because I earned one. You're being completely selfish. That's exactly what Mom said about you. What did Mom say about me? Quiet. She realized she'd gone too far. Nothing. Forget it. Tara, what did Mom say? Click. I was parked in a lot outside a grocery store. Engine off. Hands resting on the steering wheel. I watched people load bags into their trunks. People with ordinary families who probably didn't plan financial schemes in group messages. And then call each other at 10 o'clock with scripted voices. Something changed in me that afternoon. I can't name it precisely. The anger didn't leave. It condensed. Became something denser and more still. Like water becoming ice. Same material. But harder and perfectly transparent. I stopped trying to recover the money. The money was quartz countertops now. You cannot unmake a kitchen. I started thinking about something else entirely. 3 words. She deserved it. Those 3 words restructured something inside me. Not rage. Precision. If you've ever had the people closest to you treat your generosity as something they were simply entitled to, you know exactly what that feels like. Drop a comment and let me know. Have you ever been the one the family runs to when they need something, and the one they overlook the rest of the time? Subscribe so you don't miss what happened at the Labor Day cookout. Now, while I was processing the group thread and Tara's phone call, my mother was busy doing what she does best. Shaping the story everyone else would hear. She called around. Every aunt, uncle, and family friend in her contacts received Carol Saunders' version of events. That version went like this. Claire is punishing us for helping Tara with a small home project. She's always had a difficult relationship with her sister's success. A small home project. $28,000 of someone else's savings for a premium quartz renovation. My mother described it as a minor update. Cousin Nadine texted first. Your mom reached out. She's really upset, Claire. Maybe it's worth just letting it go for the sake of peace. Uncle Harold followed. Family is everything, Claire. Don't let money create a wall between you. 2 more cousins after that. Each message a variation on the same theme. Claire is being unreasonable. Claire is overreacting. Claire should step back and forgive. No one mentioned the wire transfer. No one brought up the staged emergency. No one referenced the group chat because my mother hadn't mentioned any of that. I could have forwarded the entire thread to every person in that family in under a minute. I held back. Not yet. The cookout was 9 weeks away. The pressure campaign created surface results. Calls from my side dried up. Invitations stopped arriving. Then Tara removed me from the family group chat. I found out when a cousin referenced something that had been shared there, and I had no record of it. Check the thread, Nadine said. There was no thread anymore. Not for me. Mother's Day arrived. I sent a floral arrangement. White Gerbera daisies and pale yellow tulips. $60. Same order as previous years. Mom didn't acknowledge it. No call. No text. Nothing. At work, things moved in the opposite direction. I received a promotion. Senior structural engineer. A salary increase of $16,000 annually. My manager told me in his office with the door closed. You are one of the most consistently dependable members of this department, Claire. Dependable. That word again. I didn't share the news with my family. There was no family left to share it with. Marcus and I recalibrated. $87,000 plus the salary adjustment meant we could rebuild at a better pace. Same monthly target, same discipline, just with more cushion behind us. The silence from my parents was painful in a specific way. But it was also clarifying. I stopped directing energy toward people who treated it as an obligation they didn't need to honor. I redirected it into the life Marcus and I were actually building. Late April, Aunt Ruthann called. My mom's older sister. 64, practical, the kind of person who says exactly what she thinks and makes her own bread from scratch. Claire, I've heard your mother's account of what happened. I'd like to hear yours. I told her everything. The wire. The lie. The group thread. The 3 words. Ruthann went quiet on the other end. Then she said something that reframed my understanding of my own family. She did this to me too. Her voice was flat. The kind of flat that comes from carrying something for a long time without releasing it. About 6 years back, your mother called and said your father needed $9,000. She said his work van had transmission issues. He needed it for his livelihood. I sent the money the next day. And then a few months later, I saw photos from Tara's bridal shower. The full production. Catered, custom florals, matching robes for the entire party. And your mother never brought up the van again. Did you say anything? Once. She told me Dennis had a friend who fixed it. Changed the subject before I could ask anything else. I held that for a moment. $9,000. A vehicle that probably never needed repairs. The same approach. The same script, just slightly older. She's been running this play for a long time, I said. Longer than you know. Your grandmother used to say Carol had a particular gift for getting what she wanted by making you feel it was your idea. She just refined it. Ruthann paused. I could hear her pouring something in the background. Probably her evening tea. She always has tea when she's thinking. I stayed quiet for 5 years, Claire. I watched your mother build a narrative about you that I knew wasn't accurate. Because I've been exactly where you're standing. I'm listening. I'm hosting the Labor Day cookout this year. My house, my yard. I want you and Marcus to come. Your parents will be there. Yes. And Tara? Her too. Ruthann, I don't want to walk in there and create a scene. You're not creating anything. You're just showing up. That's entirely different. The cookout was 8 weeks out. Every Sunday without fail, Tara posted another photo of that kitchen. Baking muffins on the quartz island. Caption with a soft focus filter. 52 likes. Saturday breakfast with the whole crew. A photo of omelets on brass-rimmed plates arranged on the waterfall surface. 68 likes. Still obsessed with how this turned out. A close-up of the backsplash tile in morning light. 57 likes. I didn't unfollow her. I didn't block her. I saved every post to the same folder where I kept the wire confirmation and the group thread screenshots. I couldn't fully explain why. Maybe I needed the proof to stay concrete. Maybe I needed to keep seeing what $28,000 looked like when it had been installed in someone else's kitchen. Marcus found me scrolling one night. Past midnight. Phone tucked under the blanket. You're doing this to yourself. I'm keeping a record. That's the same thing. He wasn't entirely wrong. But I couldn't stop. Every post was a reminder. Every cupcake plated on that quartz surface. Every brunch staged for the algorithm. My savings turned into Tara's aesthetic. At work, I put everything I had into a drainage infrastructure project. $3. 8 million scope, 14 months out, 42 stakeholders. My director called it a defining assignment. I called it something to keep my hands busy so I didn't check social media at midnight. One evening in early June, Dad sent a text. Just thinking about you, sweetheart. 5 words. No apology. No acknowledgement of the money or the lie or the group thread. Just 5 words, as if thought alone settled something. I read it. Didn't respond. The cookout was 4 weeks out. I still hadn't fully decided what I'd do when I got there. I only knew I was going. Marcus and I talked about it on a Tuesday after dinner. Dishes done, television off, both of us at the kitchen table the way we sit when something actually matters. We don't have to go, he said. If I don't go, my mother controls the story permanently. I become the daughter who walked out. The jealous one. The selfish one. The one who put finances above family. What do you want to happen? I want the truth to exist somewhere other than my phone. Not in screenshots. Not in private conversations with Ruthann. Out loud, in front of the people who were only given one version of it. And if no one believes you, then at least I said it to their faces. Marcus nodded slowly. The particular way he nods when he's already decided but wants to make sure you feel heard. Then we go. I wasn't building a confrontation. I need that to be clear. I wasn't writing speeches or staging anything. I was preparing for the possibility that I would have to stand my ground in front of people who had been told a story that didn't include the group thread, the wire receipt, or the 3 words. I printed the screenshots of the thread. Not for drama. Ruthann's property is 14 acres in rural Western Virginia. Cell coverage out there is thin at best. If I needed to show someone the messages, I couldn't count on having signal. 3 pages folded in thirds, tucked into the side pocket of my bag. Marcus watched me fold them. You're really planning for this. Only if something starts. If my mother stays quiet, I stay quiet. If she puts me on trial in front of everyone, I'm not going to sit there silently. He picked up his keys from the counter. Are you nervous? No. I'm exhausted. Tired of being the person who smooths things over while everyone else makes the mess. Labor Day came. 91 degrees. Not a cloud anywhere. We drove 40 minutes on 2-lane highway through rolling Virginia farmland, past hayfields and roadside farm stands with hand-painted signage. Ruthann's house was at the end of a long unpaved drive. White clapboard. A wraparound porch. A yard wide enough to fit 4 picnic tables end to end. We were among the last to arrive. I counted vehicles in the driveway. Ruthann and Uncle George. Cousin Nadine and her partner. Uncle Harold. 3 other couples from the extended family. My parents' car. Tara's SUV. 15 adults. 4 children. And me. Marcus squeezed my hand before we opened the doors. Said nothing. He didn't need to. Ruthann met us at the porch steps. Pulled me into a long hug. Quietly said, "You're doing fine." Then louder for everyone else. "Burgers are almost ready. Come get a plate." I walked through to the backyard. Mom spotted me before I had made it 3 steps. She was standing near the beverage table, glass in hand. Our eyes met for a second. She turned away. Dad was at the grill with Uncle George. He looked over, gave a short nod, went back to the tongs. He didn't cross the yard toward me. Tara was at the far table with Brandon and the kids. She glanced up when I got closer. Gave a tight, practiced smile. "Oh, you made it. Happy Labor Day, Tara." 2 hours passed. Burgers and grilled corn and coleslaw and baked beans. The kids chased each other across the grass. Someone had a Bluetooth speaker going. Uncle Harold told a story about a fishing trip that I'd heard at least 6 times before. Normal. All of it. Deliberately, carefully normal. I sat with Ruthann and Marcus. We talked about her vegetable garden and the drought and a family of foxes living near her back field. Nobody brought up money. Nobody mentioned kitchens. Nobody said anything about a group thread. Then Tara said something to Nadine that tightened my jaw. You really should come by and see the renovation, Nadine. The countertops are absolutely stunning. I should back up. 1 week before the cookout, I had sent my parents a formal email. Same tone and structure I use for professional correspondence. Subject line, request for repayment $28,000 wire transfer, February 10th body. This email is a formal request for repayment of $28,000 transferred to Dennis and Carol Saunders on February 10th. Funds were sent based on the representation that they would be used for emergency home repairs, which did not occur. Attached is the wire transfer confirmation. Repayment deadline, October 15th. My mother replied through my father's email address. 1 paragraph. We have no intention of repaying you for supporting your sister. The money was given voluntarily. You will not speak to us as though we've done something criminal. We chose not to respond to that message. I followed up 2 days later, noting that I had documentation of the group chat conversations, including the planning of the staged emergency. 5 days. No reply. Back at the cookout. 4:15 in the afternoon. The sun was still high and hot. The kids had gone inside for a break. Someone had swapped the music to something quieter. My mother set her glass down on the picnic table, stood, smoothed the front of her blouse, and walked to the open end of the longest table in the yard. She raised her voice just enough for everyone to hear. I just want to take a moment to say how grateful I am for gatherings like this one. The yard stilled. All 15 faces turned toward her. Ruthann looked at me from across the table. Marcus placed his hand on my knee. My mother raised her glass in a small arc. Family is the foundation of everything. She paused, scanning the faces around her. The practiced expression of someone delivering a prepared message. I want to thank Ruthann for opening her home to us. For always being a place this family can return to. Ruthann didn't smile. She watched. Dennis and I have always tried to support both our daughters, equally and without condition. That's simply what parents do. She paused again, and this time she looked directly at me. Just long enough to make sure I saw it. Then away. But sometimes a member of your own family decides that finances matter more than the people around them. That keeping a tally is more important than keeping each other close. Uncle Harold shifted in his folding chair. Nadine looked at the table. Some people would rather hold on to a grievance than hold their family together. And as a mother, that breaks something in you. She wiped beneath her eye with the side of her hand. Precisely timed. Tara nodded from across the yard. Brandon studied his shoes. Today I just want to say that Dennis and I are deeply grateful for the family members who understand what it actually means to be family. Who don't put a dollar amount on love. She raised her glass higher. Several people raised their glasses. Several others did not move. She sat down. Marcus's hand pressed into my knee. My mother had just characterized me as greedy, resentful, and small in front of 15 people. Without using my name. Without explaining what she had done. Without mentioning the $28,000, the fabricated emergency, the group thread, or the 3 words. And she had done it while smiling and holding a glass of lemonade. If you have ever been positioned as the problem at a family gathering while the people who actually caused the damage stood there watching, you know exactly what the air feels like in that moment. The room tilts. Your breath goes shallow. And you have exactly 2 options in front of you. Stay seated. Or stand up. I reached into my bag. I stood. No rushing. No raised voice. I stood the way you stand when a decision has already been made, and there's nothing left to reconsider. Every face turned toward me. Mom. I kept my voice at normal volume. The same tone I use when I'm presenting figures in a project review. Since we're already talking about family and about how we treat each other, I think everyone at this table deserves to hear the full picture. My mother's face went still. Claire, sit down. In February, I continued. My father called me at 9:52 on a Thursday evening. He told me the heating system had failed. That pipes had burst. That the utility room was flooded and mold was already spreading through the walls. He said they needed $28,000 to begin emergency repairs. I transferred the money the following morning. The yard went silent. The Bluetooth speaker had stopped at some point. Even the children on the other side of the fence had gone quiet. Uncle Harold leaned forward slightly. $28,000. $28,000 from the savings account Marcus and I had been building for nearly 5 years. Savings we had accumulated to purchase our first home. Nadine. Wait. You had a house lined up? The house we lost the week after I sent that transfer, because we could no longer meet the closing terms. Nadine. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I nodded. 2 weeks after I sent that money, my sister posted a kitchen renovation on social media. Veined quartz countertops. Brass fixtures. A caption thanking Mom and Dad for making it possible. Every face at those tables turned. To my mother. To Tara. Back to me. Nadine. You're saying the repair money went into Tara's kitchen? Yes. There was no burst pipe. There was no flooding. There was no emergency. My parents invented one. My mother stood. This is completely out of proportion, Claire. You're taking everything out of context. No context changes what happened, I said, and I can show you that. I took the folded pages from my bag. 3 pages. Smoothed them on the picnic table in front of me. This is a group chat exchange between my mother, my father, and my sister. My father accidentally forwarded it to me in March. It began 7 weeks before he called me about the heating system. I read from the first message. My voice was level. Mom to the group. Tara has been looking at the countertop she wants. Veined quartz. We need at least $28,000 to do this properly. Uncle George set his fork on his plate. My father's reply, we don't have it right now, Carol. My mother's response, Claire does. Nadine put her hand over her mouth. My father, she's saving for a house. I looked up briefly. My mother was standing 2 steps from her chair. Glass abandoned. Her face had gone pale. My mother's next message. Claire won't even feel it. The yard went completely still. No movement. Just the sound of insects in the tree line and something small rolling across the patio stones. Uncle Harold. Carol. Tell me that isn't real. It is real, I said. And there's more. Tara's message in the thread. Just tell her the furnace broke. She'll send it. She always comes through. Someone exhaled sharply at the far table. My mother's final message. I'll have your father make the call. She trusts him more. I placed the pages face up on the table where anyone who wanted to read them could. My father called me that Thursday night because my mother organized it. The unsteady voice, the sounds of distress in the background, the urgency about the mold spreading, all of it scripted, all of it coordinated, to move $28,000 from my savings into my sister's kitchen renovation. Dad had his head down in both hands. He didn't look up. Tara pushed back her chair. That was a private conversation. So was the phone call where my dad told me a story about pipes bursting, I said. Uncle Harold had half risen from his chair. He settled back down. Linda. $28,000. Carol. You told your daughter the house was underwater. My mother found her voice again. It came back fractured and raw. You are distorting everything that happened. We were always going to make it right. Tell them, Dennis. Dennis kept his face in his hands. He said nothing. 3 weeks before this cookout, I said, I sent a formal written request for repayment. My mother replied through my father's account that the money had been offered willingly, that it was a gift, and that they refused to be spoken to like wrongdoers. Nadine, you said it was a gift. Mom, she did offer it. She was told it was for a flooding emergency. Nobody told her the truth. Ruthann spoke for the first time. She had been sitting with her arms folded and her eyes on her sister the way you watch something that's been building for a long time. Carol. Her tone was even almost quiet. You ran this same script on me. 6 years ago, you told me Dennis's work van needed major repairs. I sent $9,000. 2 months later, I saw the photos from Tara's bridal shower. The full event. And you never brought up the van again. The yard fractured into 3 conversations at once. Nadine, is that true, Aunt Carol? Harold. How much money? Someone else. $9,000? Mom turned to face her sister. You had no right to bring this here, Ruthann. This was between us. This is what our family keeps doing to itself, Ruthann said. Not raising her voice. The same script. The same emergency. The same outcome. My mother looked around the yard. Every face she met was looking back at her without sympathy. Tara tried once more. Tears, voice strained. It was just a renovation. I have 2 kids. My old kitchen was a mess, Claire. Your old kitchen had a fully operational cooktop, a dishwasher and stone countertops that Brandon and I helped install in 2020. Tara opened her mouth, then closed it. She sat back down. Brandon had not said a single word. I found myself wondering how much he actually knew. Then I decided it no longer mattered. Dad finally raised his head. His eyes were red. His voice was quiet in the honest way, not the scripted way. I owe you an apology, Claire. Your mother asked me to make the call. I shouldn't have gone along with it. I should have refused from the start. Mom turned on him sharply. Do not throw this back on me in front of everyone, Dennis. I'm not throwing it anywhere. I'm just finally telling the truth. Something I should have done from the beginning. Mom's face broke open. Not anger anymore. Something raw and more exposed. I only wanted good things for both of my daughters. Is that a crime? I'm a mother. This is what mothers do. For exactly one moment, one fraction of a second, I saw her differently. Not as the architect of the lie. A 67-year-old woman who had convinced herself that the method didn't matter as long as the outcome felt like love. Who genuinely believed she was building something for her family. Who couldn't see the destruction because she was too absorbed in the giving. One moment. Then I remembered 3 words. No, Mom. Wanting good things for people isn't wrong. Lying to get them is. And telling me she deserved it when I asked where my savings went. That was the moment you made your choice. That was the moment you decided which daughter mattered more. I folded the pages and placed them back in my bag. I zipped it shut. I want to be clear about something. My voice stayed level. Same volume as every sentence I'd spoken. Not louder. Not harder. Not trembling. I didn't come here to tear anyone apart. I came here because my mother stood at the head of this table and told all of you that I prioritize money over people. That I carry grudges. That I don't understand what family actually means. I came here because you deserve to know what actually happened. I looked at Mom. I'm not pursuing the money anymore. I'll build it back. I always do. I looked at Dad. I know she asked you to make the call. But you picked up the phone and dialed. I looked at Tara. And Tara, not having children doesn't mean I don't deserve a home of my own. Just means nobody should be lying to me to take it. Tara looked at her hands. She didn't respond. I picked up my bag. Marcus stood beside me. He had not said one word through any of it. He didn't need to. I turned toward Ruthann. Thank you for having us, Aunt Ruthann. Everything was wonderful. Ruthann's eyes had gone wet. She smiled. Glad you came. We walked through the yard. Past the tables. Past the grill. Past 15 people now watching my mother the way I had been watching her for months. Nobody followed us. No one called out. The car doors shut. The engine turned over. Gravel shifted under the tires as we pulled down the long drive and back onto the open road. Music off. Windows down. Late summer air still thick and warm. Marcus drove with one hand. The other hand found mine. You all right? Not yet. But I will be. We didn't speak for nearly an hour. The road cut through open country and small towns. The light was going gold at the edges of the sky. I cried somewhere past the 20-minute mark. Not the sharp, angry kind. The grief kind. The quiet kind that comes when you finally put something down that you've been carrying in both arms for too long. I didn't lose $28,000, I said. I lost the family I believed I had. Marcus didn't answer that. He found my hand at every red light and held it until the signal changed. By the time we got home, my phone showed 22 missed calls. Mom 8. Dad 5. Tara 3. Nadine 4. Uncle Harold 2. I turned it off. Set it on the kitchen counter face down. The counter was laminate. Off-white. Flecked with a pattern that had been fashionable a decade ago. Not quartz. Not marble. Not brass. Nothing that caught light at an angle. But it was mine. 1 week after the cookout, Nadine texted. I had no idea what had actually happened, Claire. I should never have told you to let it go. I'm sorry. Uncle Harold called Marcus directly. What she did took real courage. Passed that along. Ruthann reported that my mother had not spoken to her since the cookout. My dad drove to Ruthann's house alone one afternoon, Dropped off a casserole dish and didn't stay long. 3 weeks after the cookout, an envelope arrived. Inside, a personal check for $5,000. My father's handwriting in the memo line. First of many. More to come. I set it on the kitchen table next to my phone. Opened the banking app. The wire receipt was still there. $28,000 sent. $5,000 returned. 4 months after the original transfer. My mother sent nothing. No check, no note, no voicemail, no acknowledgement. Tara deleted every photo of the kitchen renovation from her profile. Every single one. She didn't reach out. I imagined her tapping through her own grid, removing post after post, watching the kitchen disappear one image at a time. I blocked my mother's number. I kept my father's. Not because I had forgiven him, but because a check and 2 words pointed in the right direction was at least something. Not enough, but not nothing. Marcus and I kept saving. Same amount every month. The promotion helped. By September we were past $97,000. By November $112,000. By December right where we planned to be. We had $115,000 again. December 18th. A Wednesday. 36 degrees and a thin frost on the windshield. We sat at a wide table in a title company conference room. Our agent across from us. A notary to the side. A thick folder between us. I signed my name 38 times. Marcus signed 38 times. The notary stamped each page. Then our agent reached into her folder and produced a small envelope, slid it across the table. 2 keys on a simple metal ring. Picked them up. Held them. They were heavier than I had imagined. Or maybe I was finally paying attention to what weight feels like. Congratulations, our agent said. It belongs to you. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a yard with a chain-link fence we'd replace by spring. A quiet street that dead-ended at a small community park. Not the house we'd lost in February. A different one. Smaller in some ways. Better in others. Nobody from my immediate family was there. Ruthann sent flowers, a wide arrangement of sunflowers and white daisies, with a card that simply read, "You did it." My father mailed a card. Congratulations. His name and nothing else. My mother sent nothing. That evening, Marcus carried the first box through the front door and set it in the center of the living room. The floors needed work. The kitchen had laminate countertops and an appliance package from 2012. The faucet was chrome, not brass. No quartz. No custom backsplash. No pendant lighting over a waterfall island. It was the most beautiful room I had ever stood in. Marcus looked around, hands on his hips. We got here. I held those keys until the teeth pressed into my palm. Yeah, we did. I learned something that year. The people who actually love you don't need to perform an emergency to ask for help. And the ones who do, they were never really asking. They were just taking. That's my story. $28,000, 1 group chat, and a cookout that no one in that family is going to forget. If this reminded you to pay attention when something feels wrong, even when you don't want it to feel wrong, that's a good thing. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.